Shalom and welcome to Tel Aviv University's newest initiative, a series of podcasts with our leading friends and supporters. Hi, good morning. Welcome to Israel. Kathy and Gary, we're very pleased to have you with us in this series of podcasts that we're having with our leaders and supporters of Tel Aviv University, and I'm very thrilled to have you here with us. I just arrived last night to Israel at difficult times, October 7th. First of all, I got to tell you that we're very happy that you're here with us, and it's not obvious that people come to Israel at this time. So we are grateful for your support and willingness to come with us to Israel.
Well, thank you for having us. I can't think of a more important time to be here.
I agree. I wanted the reason we're having this because you are one of our top leaders here in the university, and we wanted our supporters and the viewers and listeners to know a little bit about you. So maybe we'll start with you, Gary. Gary, tell us a little bit about yourself. Born in UK, former dentist, businessman, but maybe share with us a little bit of your personal story.
Yes, happy to. Born in the UK, as you say. Son of a refugee from the Holocaust. My father escaped after being arrested by the Gestapo in Vienna, escaped to London, joined the British Army, and married my mother in the process. And she was the youngest of 7. Her parents were from Ukraine. So it's a familiar story, probably. I graduated dental school in London, was in practice in London, did a master's in behavioral science, got a Annenberg scholarship to University of Pennsylvania, did my graduate training there as a periodontist. It was an amazing time. All my mentors were Jews and legends in their own lifetimes and preceptors in the field and philanthropic. So it was a really good introduction to being Jewish in America at the time. Then I went to San Francisco thinking it would be for a year. 50 years later, I'm still there. Met my beautiful wife, Kathy, in San Francisco. At that time, I had been involved locally and then nationally on Young Leadership Cabinet. And Kathy and I were married in Israel under Young Leadership Cabinet auspices. It was amazing. I cried at my own wedding, and as my father said, Kathy was the best decision I ever made in my life.
Amazing. That's wonderful. And we're going to talk more about what you do today and your decisions. But Kathy, maybe tell us your story.
Sure. I'm from Waukegan, Illinois, which nobody on the listeners here would know where that is. It's north of Chicago.
Guys, if you know, just check yes, we know, and we'll see. Maybe we'll make some connection of old friends or something.
Maybe, because in Waukegan, the town was a working factory town. Unfortunately, a lot of the factories closed now. This was in the 50s, 60s due to asbestos. So it's a dead city at this point. But at that time, it was 1/3 Black, 1/3 Hispanic, 1/3 other, which we fell into, and had a very small but vibrant Jewish community. So I was bat mitzvahed, b'nai mitzvahed, actually. I have a twin brother. And it was a nice foundation in Waukegan, Illinois. But went on to medical school and dermatology, graduated Stanford, and that's when I met him. I'm an entrepreneur, so I practice dermatology as well as 2 different skincare companies, one called Proactive Solution, the other Rodan and Fields. So that brings us to our family, and we had decisions to make. The question is, where do we put our efforts? So being Jewish, very important. That was a key moral code to raise our children. But where do we put our efforts and our interests? Where do we really put in our muscle? And so we decided in a place where we can really get hands-on and make a difference for change. And that has been just on high alert ever since October 7th. We are working day and night in the Bay Area, in Washington, D.C., and in Israel to help these worlds come together and hopefully a soft landing after this horrible event that happened.
And I might add that we sort of fell into Tel Aviv University naturally. We had been very involved in Jewish community, as I said, on a local level, on a national level, even on an international level. But I wanted to be involved with an institution in Israel that I could feel and touch and know. And that's how we've made friends with you.
Yeah.
So it was actually quite by chance. We had a consul general in town by the name of Andy David, who was a dentist. We became very friendly, and he asked if I would do a fundraiser.
I didn't know that the consul was a dentist.
Yes.
That's an interesting job.
Who joined the diplomatic corps.
Wow, interesting, after being a dentist.
And he actually asked if we would do a fundraiser for the dental school, Tel Aviv University Dental School. And one of the pillars was in honor of a very close mentor of mine. So, of course, I said yes. The next thing I knew, Yossi Klafter was in our kitchen having coffee.
The former president.
The former president. The next thing I knew, we were in Israel with a tour of the campus. And then I was asked if I would join American Friends of Tel Aviv University.
Yeah, and we'll talk about your position there.
Which we did.
Yeah, of course. But Kathy, maybe go back a little bit. But you're I would say successful. You said it very lightly. Yeah, I'm a dermatologist. I'm that. But you were able to establish one of maybe the largest dermatology companies in the world, and of course, exceptional innovations and inventions to help thousands, 100,000, millions of young people around the world. Tell us what inspired you, or what made you, tell the world the story.
The story of Startup Nations. Okay, so for the Startup Nation entrepreneurs, when my partner Katie Rodan and I graduated Stanford, there was a big sea change in American healthcare. Before us, you can go to any doctor, your insurance paid for the visit, the medication, the follow-up, all of it. Then the wall came down, and it was rationed medical care, HMO, which meant you couldn't get to us for acne, maybe for melanoma. That was it. And so we saw an important problem. Acne is a 4-letter word. It is the most common skin condition, and it changes who you are. It affects your self-esteem. The most important real estate you'll ever own is your face. And if you can't present your best face to the world, you don't get the guy, the job, all the advantages of life because you are inward. So because it's a self-esteem issue, we had the hubris to believe we could make an answer so people who couldn't get to a dermatologist could at least get care, self-care. So we invented Proactive Solution. The rest is history. It was in the era of infomercial. And in that time, we can show real before and afters, testimonials, podcasts like this, where lives changed over, tens of millions of people across the world. So that was Proactive Solution. We continued on with a second company, Rodan and Fields, also successful direct sales. This time, the goal was to give a financial support to the people who needed it. So we're talking the first company, 95 to 215, the next company, 208 until the present. And for people, the 08 was a recession, if you recall, and people really need to have a side job, an income. They were losing jobs like crazy in that recession. And so we thought, well, what if the people who loved our products actually sold the products? They're much more compelling and involved than a counter girl at a store. And we were right. But the best thing of all was the lives we've changed. And it has been phenomenal to give someone self-esteem, to give someone financial freedom, to give someone the ability to really accomplish in their lives and not be either oppressed by their outward skin or by their financial situation has been spectacular.
Amazing story. And I see, when we sometimes we had some time around the world to travel together, and I see people following you for advices and for some comments, and I'm sure what you did and what you do is great. And
I might add,
yes,
I was fortunate enough to be a part of that and on the board of the company. And part of the ethos of the company was to give back.
Amazing.
So we had, what would you say, sort of a mission. It was called Prescription for Change. Part of the foundation was we took part of the profits and gave them back to the community.
Amazing.
Tzedakah.
Kol hakavod. So that brings me to you, Garry. So you had a successful practice, still young and vibrant, and you decided to stop and to focus on philanthropy, on society, on activity and education. Tell me what made you decide that, because definitely your energy is there and everything, but what made you make the change for yourself?
I never just practiced. I was always too interested in and too curious about too many other things. So while I loved practice, over the years I just cut back till about 5 years ago, I was practicing just about a day a week. And then circumstances of my practice changed, and it was time for me to quit, although I still miss it. But I had started many, many years ago an academy for advanced dental education, which ran for about 18 years. And then I started a magazine with a very close colleague of mine, also from Penn. And the idea of the magazine was to explain to people in words that they could understand, not in medicalese, common dental, oral surgical, medical issues, all related to dentistry and the practice of dentistry, in words they could understand, and to help them make their own healthcare decisions along with their practitioners. And we started that. There was a quarterly magazine. After 5 years, it went on the web. And then we started producing our own videos. So it ended up being a small multimedia company.
Nice.
I can't say small. It's everything we published is now on the web.
Oh, nice.
So that was quite successful and an interesting venture. And I was lucky enough to join Kathy in her businesses.
Wow.
too.
So I think that you both said that education, and I know for a fact that education is something which is very important for you. So, but it's not only Tel Aviv University. We're going to be able to talk about it later. But you're involved in Tulane, in Penn, and so many other things. And first of all, why education? Because maybe our viewers and listeners would like to know. And what drives you?
I think first of all, if you're Jewish, education is foundational to who we are, what we are. I also have a master's in behavioral science because I wanted to understand behavior, and a lot of the curriculum overlap with school curricula. And we have two sons who have very different learning styles, and sometimes they began to struggle, and so we got involved at a school level and found that the schools, what they were teaching was sometimes quite behind the times. So we challenged them, and that's how we got our start in education when our kids were in grade school.
It's very nice. And in Tulane, and other, is that because you're a graduate of Tulane, right? Or
well, our son Richard is a Tulane grad, and the year he started in 2014, after doing incredible research, and Richie was accepted to about 12 schools. We made the decision to go to Tulane because it had a reputation for being one of the happiest campuses in the United States. Unfortunately, that year, there were 8 deaths on the campus, a new president, and since we had had some involvement in the field already at the K through 12 level, we jumped in. We were able to bring in a professor of pediatrics who specialized in adolescent trauma from Penn, actually, Dr. Ken Ginsberg. And he spoke to all the stakeholders of the school, except the faculty didn't turn up. So we went to work. And we've been working in that area. I say my son graduated in 2018. We have yet to graduate. And we, in the last few years, said, whatever we're doing is not working. We hired a design thinking firm from outside the university to interview the whole campus. And we came up with a 3-year program. It's called Wave of Support, to change the culture of mental health on campus.
Nice. Cool.
We're in our 3rd year now. It has been extraordinarily successful.
Good for you.
So that's one thing. And then on the way, there was an opportunity to fund the Jewish Studies department, and we endowed a chair in Jewish Studies, the Fields-Rayant Chair in Contemporary Jewish Studies, which we did just recently.
You are connected to your Jewishness, right? I mean, you have it in you. I mean, I spent some time yesterday with some other friends, and they're very committed to Israel, but not really related to their Jewishness. So it's a game here, right? I mean, sometimes, and I feel that you are also. You say your vort, you say your drasha, right? You say your sometimes. So it comes from inside, probably, right? Is it from home?
In Kishkis.
In the Kishkis, from the inside, yeah. Where does it come from? From home? I mean, your parents were more traditional, or is something that the values that you think that you like to?
My parents were cultural. They kept kosher, but not glut kosher, and somewhat observant. But my father's stories growing up, his army stories, his experiences during growing up in Vienna. Actually, he was born in what was then Bukovina, now Romania. End of the First World War, they lost everything and walked to Vienna and started again.
Wow.
So his first language was Yiddish. He learned German in school. It was quite a story, quite a life. But he was always grounded in his Jewish values more than anything. So that's for me where it came from. And I started studying cultural Judaism when I was about 16 or 17, wanting to know why Jews were like they were, more than being a Torah bacher.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think we're more than only that. I think definitely I agree with your notion of being a nation or being it's interesting. Someone told me yesterday just something nice, that when they're going to Jerusalem to touch the Wailing Wall, it's like touching the unconsciousness of humanity, which I like that. I mean, that's yesterday some friend told me that. We have so much in Judaism and that connects us all, even if we're not religious, if not. But
well, I think Judaism really you can boil it down to three things. It's Torah, which is our story, our narrative, who we are as a people. It's tefillah, the particular way we acknowledge spirituality, and many people who are Jewish do it in different ways. And it's tzedakah,
giving back,
the practice of tikkun olam, but not just from a social justice perspective. It's deeper than that. It's litukun olam b'malchut Shaddai.
Okay. So it's actually
there's a spirituality in it that is different from just social justice. So it's
no, I like it. I connect, and I would say you're in Tel Aviv University. If we talk about tzedakah, if you're talking about giving back, you're doing so much with us. I mean, here in university, you've been doing major projects with you. One of the founders of Minducate. I would love for you to tell about it a little bit. And of course, just recently you endowed. In honor of Anita, scholarship for helping periphery children from around Israel, a very important program, and so many other things. And of course, after COVID hits, you were the first really to come and help us with the special institute that we raised, the pandemic. So you've been there and so many other things, of course, and thank you for that. But tell us, what drives you for that? I mean, why? Of course, education in general, but maybe a little bit. Maybe start with Minducate, because you're very much involved, and now you're continuing on being maybe the supporter of this important program. So maybe you can share with us a little bit about that. Kathy, go ahead.
So, I think you've got to go back to why we're here to begin with, which is learning and having people thrive. And one of the first things we found, the dirty little secret of all education, is mental health. And long before social media was obviously ruining, children and what was going on, we realized that there were real problems of connection and ability to connect with kids for anxiety and depression, and it was growing in leaps and bounds. And there were so many parts of it that were causing it that we wanted to investigate that further. So Tulane became our jumping in point, and it really took us years to crack the code, which we think we have. And if this model comes to fruition, which it is coming in, we can take it across the world and to Tel Aviv University. So number one, mental health. Humans really have gone off track. We're not connecting, and that failure is a community problem, and we need to take it very seriously and rebuild from the bottom up. Now, education, mind you, Kate, what we've learned is this brain is complicated, and each of us is quite unique, and the original factory method of batching kids in grades really is not optimized. And we think the very future of Israel, everything about Israel is its education. Garry used the word foundational, and that's important because without going into the periphery and bringing in all that raw talent that may not have the opportunity, by really investing in Israel's future and in the United States, we're going nowhere fast. Yes, AI is taking over. Yes, there are threats. but we can start here in Israel and show a better path. And Minducate is really at the heart of what's going on. We have to stay ahead of the computer. So it's exciting because different teams are working and they bring their ideas to Tel Aviv University and they come here to test those ideas. And with that, there'll be results. And with that, we can be a thriving community. And this is Israel's secret sauce. Here at Tel Aviv University, we need these brains to excel and to be happy and to thrive and to bring us to the next revolution for all humanity. So why not here in Israel?
Absolutely. Amen.
So Minducate was really a program that found us. It was a marriage that was meant to be. As I mentioned before, we have two sons with very different learning styles, and the schools were cookie cutter, one size fits all. We said, this is wrong. We have to do better than this. So Minducate, the study really of how the brain learns, anything from individual learning all the way to online learning, was tremendous. Those kinds of discoveries. And also what Tel Aviv University does so well, not just research, but from research to application.
Absolutely.
So it was a marriage in heaven for us and a pleasure to support.
Yeah, people that don't know, it's a special program that was initiated between the neuroscience, the Sagol Neuroscience School and the educational school. Really, that's what makes Tel Aviv great, that they can combine all the disciplines together and really do amazing research, as you said, and of course, applied it also afterwards. That's also something, as I said, secret sauce. I like that. You know, of course, you're here. We talked about October 7th, and of course, disaster for everyone. We're still there, unfortunately. Hopefully, in future, we'll be able to go out of the situation. But I want to address a little bit now. Recently, you became the chairman of the American Friends, which is the largest Friends of Tel Aviv University, and most I would say supportive group, and the largest one in the world. And this is a big role for us. I mean, as a university, and we thank you for taking this as a volunteer, of course. But you came in a very difficult situation. You have really a lot of outbreaks of anti-Semitism in the United States, in colleges, in the streets. From one side, we have to explain to our youth in the United States, why Israel, why now? And from the other side, we have Israel, all the war that is happening here. So first of all, how do you see your role as a chairman there, and, the future for that? That's something. And then, of course, the connection to Israel. I know you're working hard for Israel for many years, and especially now. So just maybe about your role there and the situation there. How do you feel?
This is the most uncomfortable time I've experienced in my life. Being a baby boomer of that generation, post-Second World War, first generation, when all the Western democracies were pulling together, rebuilding, I've always felt this was the luckiest time to be Jewish until October 7th. Then everything changed. Not only in Israel, but the outbreaks of anti-Semitism the world over have been devastating. We can't wait for this war to be over, and God willing, we will be victorious, and we'll bring our hostages home.
Amen.
Amen. And it'll be a time to rebuild. And I think we have to start to think about education in a different way. We are astonished about the lack of understanding of college kids in the United States, history of civics, understanding of civics, understanding of, recent history, Second World War. None. You ask these kids what river to sea means, they don't know what river, they don't know what sea. And I think it's been a very sophisticated program by the other side against us. They've been using media, social media, very well, funding universities not just for a year but for decades. So this has been programmed, it's been insidious, and I think we've been caught on our heels, and the whole Jewish world needs to do better.
Yeah.
So I think as soon as this is over, two things need to happen. We need to reignite the startup nation, and we need to reignite our Israeli universities.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah.
One point that came out of this, prior to October 7th, there was a split between the diaspora and Israel. And that separation wasn't serving either of us very well. Like you said, the way we're Jewish, how we feel about Israel, everything there was friction or distance, even worse. We just realized we are of one people. No matter how you practice your Judaism, you don't, you're still a Jew. What you look like, where you are in the world, we are a target. We are always the target. So if there is some pearl of good coming out of this, I think we all agree we need to be one people again in mindset and get a plan, not 5 years, but think more like the enemy. Think 30-year plan. Where should Israel be? Where do the Jews want to be 30, 40, 50 years from now? And this is that moment to really start to shape that direction and run hard.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And as you said very, very correctly, we see universities as the future of Israel. We see universities as the foundation that will, I don't like to use the word rebuild because we are here, but, really get stronger and look at the future. And I think university, as you said, has a main role of doing that. We know all those things like Iron Dome and all those amazing ways came from university, some of it from our university as well. If we invest in universities, we invest in the future of the people of Israel. And that's something we do understand now. And I totally agree with what you said.
I think there's something else that really needs to be mentioned. This is not just a Jewish problem. What's going on right now is an attack on democracies. And what we say to everybody is what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. So it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for democracies.
Yeah. So I think our time is almost up. So I think that maybe if you have a few words you would like to say for the next generation, you usually end up, your advice to the next one, our kids' age, or what would you recommend to them on the Israel front, on philanthropy, on maybe even the business, but whatever is on your mind.
Understand what it means to be Jewish. I think it's a sacred privilege to be a Jew. We've been around for more than 3,500 years. God willing, we'll be here for another 3,500 years, if not more. And to understand our history, what it means to humanity to be a Jew, I think is very important. And those lessons should not be lost.
I think this is a time to learn about our past, be very strong, and start to get courage. There's no backbone in the diaspora in the United States. The kids have no resources that they draw on to be proud to be Jewish. And so we need more of us coming here to Israel. We definitely need more, not less, exchange programs between Tel Aviv University and the campuses all around the world. We need to continue to create those connections and solidify them and grow and nurture them for the future. And again, with education being the source of humanity going forward, we're positioned here at Tel Aviv University to be that spark and to grow in the right direction. For our children, we have great children. Our two boys are very proud Jewish guys. They're single. I'll just throw it out there. But they're...
Pictures and internet and email afterwards. Don't worry.
Right. They're wonderful, menschy human beings with a terrific moral code. And this is what we want to teach. This is the light unto nations. This moral code is what we need to showcase. Maybe that's what is so unreasonable to the world, that we stand with a high value, and we will not shoot for anything less, and we will not change that. We will remain Jews with this high standard.
Wonderful.
And where we came in, why Tel Aviv University? The largest Jewish public university in the world, 30,000 students, of which 20% are Israeli Arab, Palestinian, Druze, international students. What speaks better to the values of Judaism, education and democracy than Tel Aviv University, which is why we're here.
Thank you. I think those were excellent ending words. So with that, I thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing you here next days in the Board of Governors of Tel Aviv University. And thank you for being with us here. Toda rabba.
Thank you for the opportunity.